In this video, we're going to be talking about the real number system and the types of numbers. There are many different types of numbers. The first number we're going to be talking about are called natural numbers, sometimes called counting numbers. These numbers are positive numbers, numbers without fractional parts or decimal parts. And here are some examples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the positive spectrum. But 1.00 and 93.000 are also considered natural numbers because if you look at the decimal values, there's no actual value there. Zeros are just there for placeholders. 2/1 and 56/8 are also called natural numbers because when you simplify the fractions, they don't have any fractional parts. 2/1 becomes 2 and 56/8 becomes 7. 100% and 500% are also natural numbers because when you convert them back into numbers, 100% equals 1 and 500% equals 5. Next, let's talk about whole numbers. Whole numbers are positive numbers, numbers without fractional or decimal parts, and includes 0. So looking at examples, we actually have all of our natural numbers including 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the positive spectrum. 24.00 is also a whole number, 100%, 700%, and now 0%. 12/6 can simplify to 2, so that's also a whole number. 64/2, that simplifies to 32, that is also a whole number. And 35/5 can be reduced to 7, which is also a whole number. Moving forward with integers. Integers include all whole numbers and their opposites. These are numbers without fractional parts or decimal parts. It also includes 0. They are positive and negative numbers. Looking at some examples, remember, integers are all of our whole numbers, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the positive spectrum. But now we're including their opposites. So the opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2. The opposite of 3 is -3. The opposite of 4 is -4, and so on. 24.00 is also a whole number and integer. -100% is an integer because that is reduced to -1. 700% is an integer. And -73 is also an integer because it's the opposite of 73. 12/6 can be reduced to 2, an integer. 64/2 can be reduced to 32, an integer. 35/5 reduces to 7, an integer. And -81/9 simplifies to -9, which is also an integer. Let's talk about our rational numbers. Rational numbers are any number that can be written by dividing one integer by another. In plain English, any number that can be written as a fraction or ratio. There is no decimal, or the decimal either repeats in a pattern or terminates. So let's look at some examples. So rational numbers include all of our integers, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going into both our positive and negative spectrums. But we're also including decimals now. 1/2, which equals 0.5, has a decimal, but it terminates. 0.25, it terminates, the decimal doesn't go on forever, and that equals 1/4. So 1/4 and 0.5 are also rational numbers, and 0.25 and 1/4 are also rational numbers. -7 is a rational number because remember, it's also an integer. -7 can also be written as -7/1. Looking at decimals that repeat in pattern, 1/3 or 1/3 equals 0.333 repeating. Because it repeats in a pattern, it is also considered a rational number. Going into irrational numbers. Irrational numbers is a number that cannot be written as a simple fraction. The decimal goes on forever, and the decimal does not have a specific pattern. Some examples: pi, the square root of 2, the square root of 3, and the square root of any prime number. Again, these are numbers that have decimals that go into infinity and that do not have a defined pattern. The order of the decimal changes every time. And that's it, y'all.